Okay, that's enough. We can now start watching if you're all ready. Is it very bad? Is it tolerable by any chance? Yeah, I think it should be fine. So, as you see, I have already started watching it. I did watch a part, then I opened the data. I did quite research on the data. So, um, is it better now? Please tell me if it is or if it isn't. Just tiny. Okay. So, as I was saying, I did not watch the full video because I got very invested in learning the data that they use. Now, before we start, the topic is like, why do young women hate men? What are your, guesses and expectations? What is going to be discussed, or what could be the reason? Oh, hi, Christian. They are going to acknowledge that indeed women hate men more than men hate women, but they are somehow going to blame men anyway. Maybe low emotional intelligence, low perceived ambition, bumping and dumping, caring too much about physical looks, too much misogynistic fraternizing, but I think they will focus a lot on their personal experiences, and some men might get less mentioned here because they don't go outside as much, so they're easier to ignore for these women who look to be more social and outgoing based on the thumbnail. My mic sounds radioactive because I am radioactive, sorry. Okay, let's let's start watching.
Scarlett, you conducted the exclusive polling for this piece, and there were some really fascinating results. One of the starkest findings was how negatively young women feel towards men compared with the other way around. Can you unpack some of the stats for us?
Yeah, I think out of everything we found, this is what jumped out the most to me. I think we're very used to hearing about young men's negative views of young women's and sort of misogyny amongst young men. But this really struck me because we found that 72% of young men have a favourable view of young women, 7%, and not very many really, have an unfavourable view of young women. When it comes to women under 30, though, only 50% have a favourable view. The unfavourable view of men goes up to 21%, and then under 25 women, it's just 35% of young women who have a favourable view of men. And if you go into very favourable, we actually use positive rather than favourable, but if you say very positive, it's just 11% of under 25 women. So we are looking at an environment where young women feel a lot more negatively towards young men than the other way around.
It's really interesting because I think if you sort of
let's have a pause. What do you think favorable view of women means here? Dun, dun, dun. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Do I still sound terrible? Yeah. What do you think would be the issue? I guess because I don't know what the hell it was for. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun. Is it the same? I don't have any earphones. No, I'm using my Razer mic. I'm not on my phone. Yes, USB. No, not another problem. I think if I just turn off the mic, it's going to be worse. Oh, now it's good? Okay, great. Finally. It is the cable, then. Okay, so my question was, as she said, according to their polling, 72% of men have a favorable view of women. So my question is, what do you think favorable view means? I'd imagine positive views of women. What kind of views? I guess from my perspective as a young man, I think of it as does the presence of a woman make my life more fulfilling or better? I'm pretty sure you're not the most common case, honestly. If the popularity of Pragmata says anything, it's that men really do want to find a life partner and have a family. I guess they long for the kind of relationship where they won't feel like they're being used as a Jester Max or a Better Pax. You want to tell me that Jester Maxing is bad? Okay, I got you. Let's keep going.
As a casual observer of some of the discourse about sort of gender politics and particularly the manosphere, you'd assume that this sort of rift between young women and young men was driven by young men's opinions and behaviour towards women. Perhaps it is. We'll get more into reasons behind some of these figures. But really, I mean, it's much more stark on the side of women's attitudes.
Exactly, and it's not even reciprocated, on the young men's side. It really is unbalanced, with young women feeling much more negatively than young men.
Yeah, and Emily, you spent a lot of time with this demographic of young women for your feature. How was this negativity towards men shaping their lives? How did it come out of your speaking?
I was really, really surprised by how negatively they spoke about men. And I mean, some of them still had boyfriends and still were dating, although some of them were even quite negative about the men they were dating. One girl I spoke to was like, I can't imagine my boyfriend at the pub with his friends talking about political issues, where that's basically all me and my friends talk about. So, she felt quite scathing towards, even though she loved him, she felt quite scathing towards him. And some women I spoke to had basically sworn off men completely and said they were uninterested in them, didn't have male friends. They all said they would not date a man who didn't share their basic views, and given women and men don't have exactly the same politics, and that's going to become more tricky if women are just totally not up for dating a man who disagrees with them on core issues. They viewed that as an absolutely uncompromising moral standpoint.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting because it becomes really pronounced when it gets down to particular political and social issues. So 6 in 10 say they would find it difficult to date someone who disagreed with them on the Palestine-Israel conflict or who didn't share their views on Donald Trump. And Emily, did you get a sense of why? I mean, you spoke to some influencers actually. We often talk about these influencers in the manosphere who are leading boys astray, but in a way, there's something sort of reflecting what's going on the male side of things going on for women. Had they been sort of influenced by things that they were seeing online?
Yes, I think men and women are looking at very, very different internets now, young men and young women. Like the women I spoke to said they were worried about what the men were looking at online, they were worried about, Andrew Tates and people like that.
Yeah.
Whereas I spoke to an influencer who posts very, very left-wing content, very sort of anti-imperialist, very pro-Palestine, very anti the government, anti-Starmer, anti-Trump, but also there is mixed in content about.
Why hypothesize about what? Do I sound better right now, by the way? Yeah, that's another thing. Although I say that is an issue with Gen Z in general. This is getting streamed on to Twitch, by the way.
Oh, great. Okay. So basically, on that, right, they say that it's influenced by people on, like, big platforms, but they aren't, like, asking men that question, right?
What question exactly? Like, where does this view of women is coming from?
Yeah, they're just assuming that it's impacted by, like, Andrew Tate and, like, people like that, right? But it's, like, from a woman's perspective, it seems like.
I think what they're saying now, the very phrase like this is happening because of Andrew Tate is very incorrect. Andrew Tate is a symptom, not the illness, if you get what I mean. So this just reveals that there is a systematical problem. If it wasn't systematical, we would just have had Andrew Tate and that's all. But there's a bunch of them. Little Andrew Tates, mid-sized Andrew Tates, big Andrew Tates. So blaming it on Andrew Tate is very simplistic, if I can say so.
Yeah, it's like the outcome rather than the cause.
And Rami says, yes, that's another thing, although I say this is an issue with Gen Z in general, not wanting to be comfortable with being close to someone who doesn't agree 100% with them on everything. No one wants to compromise anymore. Okay, now, as I said, I looked at the data, and there is one that they are talking about currently. Just a second, I will pull up my sheet. So I downloaded it. I spent yesterday's evening looking at it. Well, for you it's today's evening. So here, this sheet is with all the data, and this one is with politics. Where is this? Oh, right, it's with all the data. And I said with politics, it was about the view on the opposite gender. So, this, they have a question where they ask, wait a second, I was making it better to navigate for myself. Okay, so they share the same political views as you, as a green flag. So this is weight and unweight would be best asked to someone else. What does it mean? The problem with how they do it for me, like someone who is not 100% knowledgeable in this statistic, is that they take people who voted for these features as one of the top 3 as 100%, and then the percents depend on how many people chose this feature to be in the first, second, third place. That's why I chose to look at the numbers, not at the percents. So the question here, and with another bunch of questions, is which of these positive qualities here, which of these positive qualities are the most important to you, like pick 3 and number them from most important, number 1, to least important out of the top qualities. So we have less than 200, between 100 and 200. Overall, the number of people who were participating in this poll is 2,000. Now, the second one is, when finding a partner, the biggest red flags or obstacles to avoid. Please rank your top 3. They have different political views. Here. The difference is, twice the size. However, it is still not this significantly much compared to the whole group of 2,000 people. To say one or the other group cares about it immensely more. Shit or shit. Anyway, we can keep going.
And with her and people like her, about toxic masculinity, about manufactured male victimhood, things like that.
I was watching this on my own. I want you to notice this part.
Here it is, very pro-Palestine, very anti-the-government, anti-Starmer, anti-Trump, but also...
So they're talking here about the leftists. Okay, you're right. You can hear them talking about how women are listening to these leftists influencers, and they mentioned pro-Palestine. You might find it interesting. In the sheet, they have a question about Israel-Palestine. That's why I asked it yesterday in the chat, because of this moment.
So there is mixed in content about, and with her and people like her, about toxic masculinity,
So with leftist views, there is a content about toxic masculinity that they consider a hate content towards men. There's also manufactured male victimhood, and this is a little bit too nuanced to speak about now, but do you see what I'm trying to point out?
Yeah, so basically saying that toxic masculinity is like inherited from other people, it's like spreading.
No. No. They are saying that toxic masculinity, commenting on toxic masculinity, is anti-man content, basically man-hating content. Content.
Why is that?
Why do you think is that? Because I separate masculinity from toxic masculinity. But they here, and it's not just them. I saw this right wing people and the manosphere think that toxic masculinity means all masculinity as is, just that all of it is bad. It doesn't. Toxic masculinity is when you are, for example, when you feel threatened to be perceived as feminine, when being perceived as feminine leads you to some like destructive or antisocial behavior, or not showing emotions is a toxic masculinity trait. Being too easy to start a fight, it is toxic masculinity. Violence is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So,
I think
yeah.
in practice, like a line, I can hear myself a little bit, that's why I'm talking slow. But in practice, when it comes to toxic masculinity on social media, they typically just blame men in general. It's like, it's not very specific. Like when you're going to just look right now, I don't feel like most people would do that. They'll just like say you're toxic, you know?
Okay, so we need to point out that we probably have different pockets on the internet, so it would be hard to judge as a whole. But my part of the internet, leftist, feminist part of the internet, when critiquing toxic masculinity, it is critiquing an institute of violence, and like disregard for health, especially for mental health. This stuff.
Yeah. But when it's like applied to a man in practice, it doesn't seem relevant. Maybe when they're like discussing among themselves, they can.
I mean,
But yeah.
no, keep going. You haven't.
That's
It's the delay, please finish your sentence. I'm sorry for interrupting.
I know you're good. I can hear myself a little bit on this, but might be a little better. But basically with like toxic masculinity, just like in practice, but when it's like being applied to meth, it seems as it's like overly general, and that's why people think that toxic masculinity is just like blaming all men. The wording of like toxic masculinity, I strictly to men.
Okay, so Sala says, well, I guess toxic masculinity can be a weaponized buzzword, so that's why fish might see a lot of content like that. I agree. There are many things that became weaponized buzzwords. I think concluding the 2010s, I see that the, rise of feminism in 2010s led to, of course, partial education of people who did not know about it. But as I think with all, initiatives, people want to take the self-serving part of it. They are not committed to it. The same goes with therapy speak. It's used also weaponized buzzwords. They don't mean what they're supposed to mean, but we can imagine that the other person, the person who uses, has some higher ground. Yeah, the problem with therapy speak has been discussed, I think, for at least 3 years now. Okay, this we discussed, now we can keep going.
Manufactured male victimhood, things like that, it all kind of blurs into a larger online space where that has a significant antipathy towards men alongside progressive politics.
Okay, so they think progressive politics work together with bias against men, and this bias, I forgot the word she just used. That word was more appropriate. Like toxic masculinity and weaponized manufactured victimhood is also one of them. Now, the therapists are being weapons. Anyway, sorry for the bad joke. I think there should be a little introduction about who these women are. So, I am not sure about the leader of the podcast, Anush Chakelian, but as we can see, there is Scarlett Maguire. She founded this, polling organization, Merlin Strategy, in 2025, and this is one of the polls that was that happened basically, and the other person, this is Emily Lawford, and she has had the New Statesman. She has had some articles published in the New Statesman. Now, what are these articles? Here is one of the names of the article. Meet the angry young women. Across Britain, the radical new feminism is rising. Any, thoughts about this?
So one is from the New Statesman, then the other is from where is it?
She was also a journalist, if I remember correctly. She is founder of a UK polling organization, Merlin Strategy. I did my research this time.
So we basically have someone that did the poll talking to a person from the New Statesman.
Yes. I do want to point out one thing. The way angry women and feminism are paired is the classic anti-feminist idea. I was too enthralled in the data. I did not finish the article. I will be reading it. I think we will not finish discussing the whole topic today. So this will be a two-part story. Oh, right. And the Scarlett Maguire also wrote an article to the New Statesman about it. Now, it is young women moving to the radical left that is widening the political gap between the genders among the under 30s. So this is a good question. In the article that Scarlett Maguire published, she has this. Wait a second, I will show you. I also did not finish reading this one. I will finish it when we'll get to it.
What was the incentive for the poll?
Yeah. So the poll was ordered by the New Statesman. It discusses political views and preferences in partners. I noted that they do not have sexuality included in their posts. This particular graph that I am not showing to you right now, I will just screenshot and send it. What can you notice about it?
Well, women under 25, it looks like it's pretty spread out. Women under 30, it starts becoming 50% positive. So it's around the halfway mark. And then men under 30, 72%. So it seems like the only metric where it's less than half that's positive would be women under 25.
I think what you're missing is, are women and men judged? Are women and men that are being asked judged equally? You know, it's the little things. Why do we have women under 25 separately from women under 30? But
I think this is like
men
a recent trend.
men are only under 30. Why do we have two categories for women and one category for men?
Okay.
I mean, this is like not telling us like everything, revealing. It does tell us that there is some bias that they want to push. They do not present this information neutrally. This is
Yeah, so I think
yeah,
it's kind of weird how they're going about it.
yeah.
Like, why would be women under 25 and then women under 30? Why not be like 25 to 30?
Yeah,
Age group?
yeah. This is also a good notice, yeah. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, so it doesn't reveal us whatever is going on in their brain as they're asking these questions and presenting us this information. But there's something else is going that is not straightforward. There is some reason they decided to present men and women differently. They do highlight that this negativity, this negative view is growing. But I think you also should notice that it's the neutrality that's growing, which I think is the best way to view it, neutral one. Anyway, I also want to tell you a little something about the New Statesman, the journal. So I went some time ago on the ground news to check for their bias, and they are called a left wing media there. However, this is the current editor, Thomas McTagg, I suppose. So he is political editor of Unheard, conservative media, and he also worked for Mail Online, a tabloid, and Daily Mirror, a tabloid. Politico is, I don't really looked into it since these don't have like a clear bias, as I can tell. But this does show us something. For everything else, he had it in the past. He is the political editor of a conservative British media right now. So this is not like out of nowhere. It did not go through their heads naturally. As women age past 25, they start having a more positive view of men. I don't want to buy into the whole debunked theory that people's brains only become fully formed at 25, but maybe it is a thing about maturity. I know that a lot of young women and teenage girls seem to be more hostile towards men as of late. I know about teen girls are straight up call the boys in their class predators and that men are subhuman. Could also just be insensitive system and socioeconomic changes as the age cohort moves into the late 20s. But yeah, I'm sure that plays some part of it as well. I want to note that, like, I have not heard stories about girls calling boys predators. I am like 99% sure they do not call men subhuman, but I am also 100% sure that boys do this to girls. They have been doing it and they have never stopped doing it, and no one teaches them to not just call women I don't know, sluts, subhuman, whores, whatnot, cum buckets. There are plenty of these things that have been and continue being used against girls. Oh, there is probably a big one from women. I mean, I don't want to diminish, the insults, but loser is such a mild thing. It's like if someone called me a crybaby. Okay? I mean,
I think it depends on the context, though, right?
I mean, it could be in the context of bullying, then it is severe, but it is not then the nature of the insult, it's the nature of the situation a person is in. And in that case, even called, I don't know, a boy or a man could be very insulting. Like, I don't know about what you Americans went through, but for the audience, what? Circumstances I was raised in, it would be very normal for boys to be raised to view women and girls as just meat for fucking. Like, this is nothing new.
Yeah, so it pretty depends on where you live and whatnot, right?
I do not think so. I really don't believe it depends on that. You should probably also visit Fanso and Pink Pig Twitter. I know they are mean. They are not the messiahs. You will see influencers who are telling teenage girls that men are naturally predators, that boys only care about sex, and that straight sex is abusive and rapey, and that men and boys are incapable of feeling emotion. That boys only care about sex is not something that, femcells being built Twitter have invented. This is the common culture. This is what also boys and men will tell you. I am aware that there are cultural differences, hence why the meme of attractive Eastern European women dating total ogres. So what you're saying about men caring about sex, this is how the most conservative people grew up. If you as a woman, become a victim of sexual assault, it will be put on you that you did not prevent it. You were not ready for it to happen. If you say as a woman, dress up. Well, we're not talking about the article now, and we will move to the podcast soon. But yeah, the view of women being interested in women only for sex has been there for at least centuries. This is the status quo, and boys are being raised to consider themselves as such. This is also why the idea of a man being a virgin is a loose bit for a woman to be a virgin, at least in some situations. By some people will be viewed as positive. Men should care about sex. Women should not want sex. Well, women are not allowed to want sex. Men are not allowed to not want sex. Okay, let's keep going.
I find it interesting, actually. That's something that I've come across on my own feed. Lots of, as a mum of a first child, like she's a toddler, I've got a lot of parenting content coming through on Instagram Reels in particular, and it's a lot of women basically being so horrible about their husbands and the fathers of their children.
Totally.
Weaponising competence and all of these kind of buzz phrases. And I come off it and I
They're being so horrible about their men using buzzwords like weaponized incompetence. This is what they consider horrible. Do you see what strokes they're using to paint their picture?
don't recognise that enough in my own partner or many people that I know, but I do get a sense that there is a lot of frustration and hatred for the opposite sex out there.
100%. The girls I spoke to, I didn't put this in the piece, but they all watch this content about brides being humiliated at their weddings by their husbands. That's a real genre of content. I think a lot of these skits they're scripted, but they all watch this stuff, and that was a specific thing for them. That's just, men can be so horrible, you can't trust them.
Oh, almost like to drive their rage.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. I think a lot of it, just as you see these skits drive to enrage men, there is the same version for women as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the reasonable sentiment. They're already. What I wonder, like, on what straws do you think they're grasping? For what?
Yeah, so basically there's at the end, it's like a conclusion about why men go so angry, right?
Why men want to? What?
Yeah, can you play like the past 5 seconds here?
Yeah.
But they all watch this stuff, and that was a specific thing for them. That's just, men can be so horrible, you can't trust them.
Oh, almost like to drive their rage.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. I think a lot of it, just as Just as you see the
almost
skits
better,
drag.
sort of. So like you see how they came to that like narrative almost, right?
What is the narrative you think they came to?
That is driving their rage.
I mean, they're talking about the specific genre of content, men humiliating their brides. They mentioned that most of them are probably skits and they are scripted. Well, I agree with this sentiment from them. It's true that there's rage bait. There is a rage bait for different target audiences too. Sometimes, you come across such a video where like a man is humiliating his partner and like he's horrible to her, and you open their account and it's just this video all the same, and in like 4 of them within a week they will say they are breaking up. Like, this shit is not real most of the times.
To enrage men, there is the same version for women as well.
Yeah. And what is making women feel so disaffected, Scarlett, who you've studied in this polling? I mean, you find that they're very, very pessimistic about their own economic outlook.
Yeah. They're hugely pessimistic about their own economic outlook. They don't think the economy is working for them, which I think is partly then why they have a more favourable view of communism than capitalism, why they think the economy is...
I want you to comment on that, and I, in the meantime, will move to show you the views. So, according to their own data, communism, very positive view on communism. 15% women, 11%, 15% men, 11% women. Quite positive, 25% men, 20% women. Neither positive nor negative, 32% men, 38% women. And 7% gap between how much they care. So, does this fit their narrative? Women are currently outperforming men in almost every metric. They are the ones who are graduating the most and getting all the high-level careers. I don't think I can believe that without a proof. Not about graduating. I know there's a difference in higher education, but first of all, by how much? Second of all, like, I don't know in like your American's case, in our case, trades do not require higher education, and obviously there are more men going into trades than women. Yet they still believe that they are earning less and that they are still being discriminated against. Women are earning less. even with this, with more education, they are probably more so blaming the economy in the sense of how much money they have. Yeah, if you look at the data, more men have favorable view of capitalism. Very positive view of capitalism, 20% men, 28% say positive. Meanwhile, women, only 30% have very positive or quite positive. So in the positive, it's 18% men are more capitalism preferring. Yes, socialism was on the bow, and I think as she was speaking here, she mixed up socialism and communism. Wait, I need to get to your comments. I do think there's a mismatch of employment trends between men and women in first world countries. Yeah, I kind of commented about it yesterday. Women perform better in higher education or institution. Okay, you can see the roles, but men still take up more upper management. Yeah, males are more likely to struggle to get in the income medium or be on the higher end of income. I would like a source from it, if there is a source. I assume it's not just your guess. Graduation, yes, not earning. In the West, women are being favored over men in hiring practices, thanks to diversity quotas. Rami, do you know how diversity quotas work? They are like, here's a quota. You need to have 25% women in the between your employees. This is not favoring. This is still, quotas are always less than a half. You will not have 70% quota. You will not have 51% quota. This is not favoring. Quotas exist to fight favoring someone. Okay, and I think a lot of this is due to lower industrial growth, due to decline of unions and more outsourcing. You know what? Here's, by the way, the socialist part. I will share it with you, and then I want to share with you a different part of their study. This is the socialism part that I screenshotted and sent. So they have a very interesting question. For each of the following, which best describes your position? It is more important to reduce inequality than it is to grow the economy. And the next one is 1 or 2. This was the first one, more important to reduce inequality than to grow the economy. The second one, it is more important for everyone to be better off, even if the rich get richer. Do you think it is a reasonable, question to ask? A reasonable opposition to make? How are people going to be better off if the rich get richer? Are you going to print money? Are the rich people pay for us to, get food, meds?
So, so the main argument that you could have is that employees have more options for work and more competitive pay. It's kind of like a hand-me-down in a sense.
Okay. I think a lot of lower performing men are likely to carry conservative nostalgia because it appeals to a paternal gaze. Their father married young, had a house, etc. Whereas for the women, they don't have that nostalgia, so they might gravitate more towards the socialist desire.
Yeah, but there's still like that pay gap in socialism, right? It's not like at the level of communism.
I say that there is a pay gap. You said that women outperform men, though. Just tilted in the opposite direction over the last years. Why do we have so many girl bosses bragging on online dating app profiles about how they have their own homes and don't need a man? How many do you have? Like, is this the only interpretation you can see of this happening? I think we should, save it, and I will add it to the mind games, asking you how this could be interpreted. Don't forget to check mind games. We've got the first one. College doesn't equal outcomes the way as it used to, yeah? So men are less likely to want to go through the stress of college. Additionally, there is studies that favor women's studies in education paths. Well, they usually say trickle-down economics. Dating apps are filled with fake profiles and inactive profiles, and typically you get shown the best of the best, so obviously dating apps aren't a good way to measure that. Yeah. And people just lie. I mean...
I think the algorithm in particular is very toxic. Because, like, it also shows up on TikTok. I agree. Why would TikTok be a better measure? It's still the same issue. Where, like, yes, shown the best of the best, right? Whatever catches your attention the most is the same for both platforms.
It's also the algorithm. I never had TikTok show me girl bosses because this is not my pocket of the internet. TikTok could be an even worse measure, though I guess it's like, is poop better than shit?
It's the wrong measure. It's not even like necessarily a bad measure. It's just not the right tool for measuring.
Yeah. I mean, lying is favored on social media, I would say.
It's not even this lying part. It's the way the algorithm works. Is that more attention equals more views, more. You see it more often, right? Whatever is like the most attention grabbing.
Mm-hmm. There's also this thing that individuals of the group succeeding does not equal success of the group. I've been recently BTS. BTS. They are rich as hell, successful as hell. Does this help them, save them from racism? No, they've been in the industry for 12 years? No, 13 years probably. They still come to America, and recently, after so many years working in America on their interview as artists, as musicians, they got the question they were getting the very first times they tapped into the US market. What's your favorite American fast food? This is an example of microaggression. They are not safe from racism. No, they finished serving in the military and they have already released a new album, which was better than I expected.
I guess for fast food, say Chick-fil-A. Why not?
No. I think back, 18 something, I think it was around 2018 when I was into them. They had this question asked so many times. This and which artist you want to collaborate with. This is not questions asked of an artist. These are questions asked of a person who is viewed as an outsider. I wanted to pick something from the graph again, from the I prefer Chipotle, but I'm okay.
Consider like fast food nowadays. Actually that fast? That's considered fast food? When I think of fast food, I think of like drive-thrus usually.
Fast food is, you can discuss fast food. I will try to find.
Debate on fast food real quick. So they make your burrito real quick, so I think just fast food. Real quick. Am I a fast food person now?
Fast food is definitely not a measure of speed, because you can make what would it be called for you? For us, it's Геркулес. Овсянка. Oatmeal. Wow, I know a dog who's called that. So oatmeal, you can prepare it for 10 minutes. So what did I want to check?
Look, you just gotta start cooking, alright? $20 for a burrito bowl, bro? I would probably open a fucking burrito stand right out them and just like sell burritos for like $12 and just make Chipotle go out of business,
Did we look at the socialism? Yeah, if you look at the socialism part, this is still men having a more positive outlook on.
We have to like add all of the percentages up, right? Like it's like more favorable or like very positive, quite positive, neither positive or negative, all that. Say like add them all together.
So I don't know why just half of your words went over my head. So yeah, they have very positive, quite positive, neutral, very negative, quite negative, don't know. I highlighted positive views that include very positive and quite positive. 89% of women have positive views of socialism, and 57% of men have positive view of socialism. What I took from their answers on the political part of it is that men are just more engaged in politics. More women respond with don't know or I'm neutral about it. Yeah, we should get back to the topic at hand, and in my hand I am holding a burrito. So, what else? Yeah, about the financial aspect of this all. We also have earning more than your parents. How optimistic you are about it. Men are extremely optimistic, I would say, about it. More so than women. But there's also like a difference between earning more in, numbers, or earning more relatively compared to, the earn more in terms of buying power. I can share the my maybe later my tab with this information and my marks on it. There was something, I think, was about politics that I also wanted to share. By the way, staying in a job you love, men are 4% more positive about it, kind of 4% plus minus. But in general, it's 72% for men, 68% for women. Buying the house you want, men are around 10% more positive about that, 69% for them, 60% for women. I am valued by the society. An interesting graph, I think. Men generally feel more valued. I agree that anyone who isn't a boomer screwed in this aspect about earning and buying power. Yeah, on Debate Incels, I talked to a guy who has nickname Debate, who has the word debate in his nickname. I'm sure you know him. And when I told him, like, do you believe in the dream of working 5 to 9 stable career, like for many years, and buying your own house, and you think it's realistic? And he's like, yeah. How is that not realistic? What? What do you mean? Do you live in the same world we all do? I think even right-wingers agree with that. Right-wingers I talk to hate the concept of social security. These are both, yes. I think in general right-wing politics are more individualistic. By the way, I actually also noted it somewhere. Oh, right. By the way, when I told you about rich get richer versus equality, I left the comment, general stupidity. Economy doing well doesn't equal people are doing well. Okay, so for each of the following, which best describes your position? Wait a second, I will choose something. It is unfair that some people have more than others, and we should redistribute wealth, or people deserve to keep what is theirs, even if that means others have less. This is, in my opinion, not a good question to ask, but it is the one that was asked. Do you have older relatives who miss the days of the USSR? Yeah. I know this is a common statement amongst older generations. Yeah. My mom loves to talk about tomato ice cream. And I remember back when I was in university, after university, like around university time in my life, she would often mention that if you would get education, you would get a job. Now this is not applicable at all. Now you get education, you don't get a job. And I know that in US it is also like there's no point in getting education, kind of, because it does not give you much better opportunities to work. Okay, another one that I highlighted regarding individualism. We need more government intervention to ensure the rules are being followed and life is fair, and we need less government intervention to allow people to get on with making the best from the opportunities they have. So again, men are in general more individualistic, while around the same percent of men and women thinks we need government intervention. So they're not anarcho-capitalists. Still, 35% of men think the government should mind their business, against 27% of women. And with that, I think we should get back to the video, because we've only watched 5 minutes and we've been here for an hour and a half. Very productive, I would say. I reserved about an hour more for this. Yeah, actually, you said me and Andrea should do a podcast. We need to do camp days. I think if we get into making a podcast, it would be 12 hours for one episode, and this is not safe for the world. I mean, sometimes a lot of it is also reiterating what is being said. I'm usually not a big fan of that, though I partially learned to make myself do this. Okay, I'm turning it on again.
Against them in a way that the young men feel less strongly. And what I find about that is I think it's really interesting, because I think it's very clear to me that the economy is not working for young people generally. You know, if you look at the youth unemployment rate, if you look at student loans, it's very hard to make your way as a young person, I think, at the moment in this country. But I think what's interesting is that young women feel so much more pessimistically about it than young men, even though actually they're all in a bad situation, but women are in a better position than men overall. So, you know, female youth employment stats are much better than male ones. Again, female earnings now for these younger generations have surpassed male earnings. So actually, yes, I think it's sort of absolutely right that they're feeling frustrated. But I still can't quite explain how much more pessimistically they feel, and that is even more pronounced actually amongst that. It's a bit of an awful pollster term, but you know, about ABC1 women rather than C2DE, so sort of middle class, more affluent young women in this country are the ones that feel those negative feelings towards the economy, towards how that system works, and much more pessimistic about their life chances than those from more working class backgrounds and in more working class professions.
That's really interesting. And did you find that those more middle class professional women had a more negative view of men than
Yeah, and they had a more negative view basically across the board as well. Right. So they were more likely to think the country is racist, for example, more likely to think that the country is sexist, more likely to feel pessimistic about their own chances, more likely to feel pessimistic about how the economy works. Basically anything you can mention, that they were more negative.
And Emily, did you get any insight at all into why that might be? Because obviously, you mentioned some of the issues that generation are facing there, Scarlett. You know, housing shortages, high student debt, and men are in that position too. So why is it that women are coming out with a different outlook?
It's a really good question. I mean, I think a big part is the internet. Your polling showed that women who are more online feel a lot of this stuff more strongly, are more worried about things like abortion rights and the environment. I think they would, if you ask them, their main answer is women are more empathetic than men. We naturally experience misogyny from a young age. We experience sexual violence, or we witness sexual violence. We experience sort of, a lot of them had what could be almost reactionary way of talking about sort of, we experience physical pain, and that in our bodies creates this greater sense of feeling and empathy compared to men. It's a very sort of biologically essentialist way, in a way, of talking about one's politics.
Huh? I let it all sink in for a second because I want to get my energy drinks. One moment. Energy drink ASMR. It would probably be too loud for ASMR. Did you know that you can drink any drink from a straw, even water, and no one can prevent you from it? You can also put, what's that, coconut, you know, these little dry coconut pieces? You can put them on top of your coffee, because no one can tell you not to do this. Free will. You can also use pistachio vegan milk. Pistachio vegan milk is great, or chocolate vegan milk, and make milkshakes with it. If you have a blender or a mixer, do milkshakes. No one can stop you. It's great. I mix my coffee with Café du Monde coffee and Chicory. You cannot stop me. I'm unstoppable when it comes to drinking milkshakes. Except for if you're my blender that broke. Because I cannot make milkshakes without my blender. Anyway, I assume Café du Monde is a brand, but I know that it means Cafe of the World. Anyway, let's keep on going.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting hearing these young women who are extremely progressive in their values and their mindset, also saying things that you kind of expect from an older,
Totally.
you know,
Yeah.
maybe less online generation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're just different, you know.
Yeah, they really
Boys will
root
be
it in
boys.
their biology.
Yeah.
And they would say, yeah, we've experienced that, and therefore, you know, I experienced misogyny, and therefore I can now empathise with people who experience racism, if they're white, for example, or, you know, classism, and we can just...
Yeah, right. They talked about how empathy for people who struggle comes by based on what women say in the article of the brown-haired woman Emily, because they have also experienced violence, aggression, discrimination, and they tie it to bioessentialism. Why? This is not biological This is not, oh, I feel hurt, someone else gets hit the same way, and now I understand that they are also hurt. This is baby's level of learning sympathy. I mean, yeah, that's the podcasts going 500 miles per hour on causation chains that seem weakly linked to the pole. Racism. Господи. Wow, I lagged. So, significantly more women think the UK is a racist country. Now, look at this data and think, what do you think women and men will say about sexist country? 30% of men think UK is a racist country against 43% of women, so this is a 13% divide. More than half of men think UK is not a racist country, meanwhile only 38% of women, so women are about equally divided on the topic of racism. Now, again, the UK is a sexist country, the UK is not a sexist country. What are your predictions? I assume they do not specify. By the way, so they have methods as a sheet, and I will send you a screenshot of how this sheet looks like. This is methodology that they described. I mean, I understand that they are a commercial company, not a research company. They sell the data. And remember when we talked about the insensitive? Miss Maguire here Eddie, she will benefit from this public outrage. This is promotion for her. So yeah, we are also promoting her company here. But I hope she will be grateful. Yeah, so sample is 2,000 people, 18, 30 years old. Nothing about the method, actually. I assume it was, calling, but at this point they could have just made it up. I know they didn't. I'm sure they didn't. But this is not transparent. Not as transparent as it should be. Talking about transparency. 8 minutes we watched 8 minutes. Let's look at how I found the study they're talking about. So logically, we have a podcast talking about the study and an article, and we would probably find it in the description. Read. You open the link to read. Do you get the data? No. You get to their politics bunch of news. Then how do you get the data? Well, truth be told, it took me some time. So as you can see, women hate men. What? No. Another thing that I hated is that the way subscribe button is placed. This is my second time clicking on it instead of searching. Some of the searches here are from different websites. I don't know how Google Chrome is saving those, but like this takes time. Here, Meet the Angry Young Woman is the one. Okay, where is the poll? The poll is here, it says. Let's look at the poll. Does it lead to the poll? No, it does not. Where is the poll they are talking about? You know, at this point, I forgot how I got to it. No, you know how I got to it? I actually went on Google and I Googled this company, Merlin Strategy. And I wanted to maybe be able to link this poll. But you know where you can find it? You need to pick recent polling. Polling for the New Statesman. So, like, they have, of course, this data available. Great. What the fuck? Why is it this difficult to find? I mean, as Remy said, they what? Oh, I didn't show you what was going on. Okay. You check the stream maybe. I will cut it out as a clip. Anyway, whenever the results of a poll of a study people are referring to talking about are not easily accessible, not easily findable, you best believe that in 70, 80, 90% of cases they don't want you to look at the results. That's the reason. Whenever this is happening, it's what fish on? How it is? Can you guess? It's fishy. Okay. Let's, half an hour more, and then we will put this to rest for now, and we will keep going at a different time.
Start caring about things, and men never started feeling oppression, so they've never had to care. And I think, that there's obviously a point out there, obviously.
Right. You did not tell me what you think about what women think about sexism in the UK. Is UK a sexist country? Like, there will be no clarification because I assume the people asked didn't have any. I want you to try and predict the results. Oh, guess the results. You know the racism part? Fun fact, they also have at least two questions about Donald Trump. So, for the UK, I will change the top for a moment so you can see. Here's racism. Sexism. Where is it? UK is a sexist country. While, yes, men are more inclined to think it isn't, more women are inclined to say they don't know. There's a 10% difference between, almost 10% difference between men and women thinking the country is sexist. But, oh god, it does not show. No, it does show you. I was being stupid. It's showing you what you need to see. So, compared to racism, I lost racism. No. Here it is. So, men are surprisingly more inclined to think the UK is a sexist country than a racist country. Women are more inclined to believe that the UK is a racist country than a sexist country. Wait, am I? Yeah, I'm mixing up. I'm still right, but I was mixing it up. I remember suggesting this just last night, and you already made a spreadsheet and research in the night. I did not make a spreadsheet. I downloaded the spreadsheet and I just went through it. Making comments, highlighting stuff. I enjoyed it. I think I spent 2 hours specifically on the spreadsheet, on the data. Okay, so as you can see, more of British people concerned with racism than with sexism. However, has enough been done to support women's rights? Men generally think yes, and some of them even think too much. Women generally think no, not enough has been done. But the difference between them and the percent of men thinking too much has been done is not that different. There's also about feminism. Half of the men have a positive outlook on feminism. At the same time, they think enough has been done. So this is a little bit mind-boggling, I guess. Men are half as likely to be negative about feminism, but the percent, bigger than I would find, not concerning, but it's still not huge, which I was surprised with, pleasantly so. That's why it's the green column. For Black Lives Matter, it's I'm looking at trans rights. It's also women are more concerned, more interested in human rights. For trans people, women are more interested. For slavery reparations, this was interesting. I have never, at least I haven't heard about this conversation in a long time. So men are just more likely to have an opinion about this. Men in the UK are in general more political. But for women, as we can see here, the issue of human rights and equality is more concerning to women in Britain, in the UK. Wait a second. No need to wait. What connections do we have with Insulters Happy Cake Day? It's not my birthday. The cake day isn't the birthday though. It's the day you registered on Reddit, no?
Listen here, buddy pal. Your birthday is whatever Reddit says it is, okay?
Okay, cowboy. So I recently had my birthday. I think it means I changed astrological sign. Who do you think I am? Unless they mean paying money directly to their former colonies like South America and Zimbabwe. I'm pretty sure that reparations do not mean like just hear money, have money. It's probably like supporting communities in and outside of your country. Maybe letting people have their cultural legacy that is kept in the British Museum. You know, stuff like that. Okay, I deserve a raise. I do too. Please give me money. Let's get to the video. We are back to the topic. At hand. Again, 8 minutes and a half.
I think a lot of young women growing up will have experienced a friend who suffered sexual violence, if not them. There are those kind of things that can make you aware, but I think also then they go on the internet and it completely reinforces those beliefs and tells them that you should be concerned, and it's a very, very moral issue to not be, and it's a problem if you're not concerned, and you shouldn't be relaxed, and their friends feel that way, and it's a sort of vicious cycle.
Yeah, there's an interesting interview that you do with...
Another reminder, this is not the feminism's fault. This is what has been reaffirmed. Men are painted as the aggressors with or without feminism. They have been, they will be, until we do something about it. Because, spoiler alert for the results on the topic of the polling, women are much more afraid of men. But you just can't live without being afraid of men as a woman. This is, I think, something you need to understand. If you dress in a quote-unquote promiscuous way, you will be blamed. Have you seen the comments from men that are like, and then women complain that they are being sexually abused or that they are raped? Like, there is this undercurrent of an idea that women can deserve sexual violence. I've seen it mostly from older men and women. It's not reserved to older men and women at all. If you go on the internet, you will get this kind of content. I mean, for fun, you can try being posing as a promiscuous woman in tiny outfits on Instagram or on Twitter, and have fun there. And if you will be voicing your opinions and you will be looking promiscuous, damn boy, you'll get so much shit. Fun fact though, in my opinion, if we take away that one, like the clubbing experience, when I dress provocatively, and my style of dress is not standard at all, it's rather provocative. I would wear, fishnets outside as a norm. I do not get hit on when I'm dressed like this. Yeah. I do. Oh my god. They were there all this time to catch you. Do you think clowns can't wear fishnets? What, are you trying to suppress my clown identity? So yeah, they may be running their mouths and thinking stuff about women and the way women dress online, but in reality it is women who do not look provocative that get more affected by the violence and harassment. I think one of the times I was groped in the subway, I was just wearing jeans, t-shirt, and I think it was a shirt on the top of it, or maybe a jean jacket. But hey, welcome to our party. But yeah, I will keep trying to bring this idea home throughout our connected experience in our little Gaza space.
Someone who was on one of those student pro-Palestinian encampments during protests, and they were struck. This woman who you spoke to, sorry, I can't remember her name, please. She was struck by...
Do you notice that Israel and Palestine issue is being mentioned quite a lot? Something is happening with not only Israel and UK, not only Israel and the USA, but also the UK is also like in this little boat. No wonder Elon Musk was trying his something there. I don't remember. Trying to overturn regulations, I think.
How something had happened, some terrible thing had happened in Gaza, and the women there were crying, whereas the men were like, oh, let's just talk about logistics about next action.
Yeah.
And that, for her, summed up that men couldn't sort of feel what was going on as empathetically as women.
Yeah, that was Ash. She was really frustrated with men she worked with in campaigning for Palestine, which was basically her whole life. Like, she said that she spent way more time on that than her studies. And she found it very difficult that the men would drop in ways to give speeches and sort of take the limelight, but then they didn't feel as deeply, and she viewed that as a sort of just a failure of empathy. Basically, they couldn't quite stretch themselves. It was still about ego, even when, and actually the girls I spoke to at Leeds University as well said that they felt that when men were involved in like social justice issues, it would be by far the most when they're sort of running for politics, like running for the university's Green Society or something. They'd be more likely to do that than they would be to do a protest on another issue. They never.
So recently, I think there was news about, if I remember correctly, it was on one of the humanitarian boats to Palestine with left-wing activists, and there was a man who was abusing women there on the boat. I now can think about the Israel-Palestine issue without thinking about that video essay you posted yesterday, when they say the girl, said that if you only care about Palestine, that you aren't a real activist, because it's easier to post a meme and a quote about Palestine than to protest or volunteer for issues closer to home. It's not that you aren't a real activist if you care about, the removed issues by fish. Oh, he can't hear. Wait, I need to react with a sad emoji. So, it's that if they only care about people that they do not see, instead of people, and don't give a fuck about people who are around them, it's not real empathy.
Touch feminist society, they wouldn't touch the social justice issues that don't involve self-promotion. That's their feeling.
And they felt that extended into their personal relationships as well, didn't they? They felt that a man would call out misogyny if they fancied the woman who they were defending, but if not, they weren't really sort of saying things to their friends that, you shouldn't say that.
There's very, very frustrated with the young men in their personal lives. They feel like they will make racist jokes and sexist jokes, and they'll laugh at them, they won't.
This I agree with. I also feel this way.
They won't stand up unless there's a very specific sexual goal.
Well, Scarlett, you talked about the sort of contrast in terms of class, but actually there's quite interesting stuff coming out of your research about the differences in outlook between white women and those from an ethnic minority background. So you might expect women of colour to be more likely to, to say that they feel the country is racist, for example, because they're more likely to be on the receiving end of racism, but it's actually the opposite.
It is the opposite way around. So yeah, white women in this country, young white women, sorry, I should specify, think that the country is racist. Ethnic minority women do not overall think it is racist. They're actually tied on the question, but they're significantly less likely to say that it's racist than their white peers. And I think that's interesting. That's interesting in and of itself. But that
should we check what she's saying? With the information we have, with the data from the poll they're referencing. Okay. Again, they are referencing both gender and ethnicity. What's up with that? Ethnicity. We do not have this. We can differentiate one from another. We do not have it by gender. So Asians are less likely. Asians feel about, whoa, it's actually very interesting. So white people see the UK as more racist than the UK, and they're more likely to have an answer. Yeah, this checks out considering what women say. It's white women who say this. That's so interesting. I do think there is a state of tiredness that non-white people experience, so that they, just stop paying attention to it and think of it as normal. But maybe I am incorrect here at all. So it's interesting and it's new to me.
It extends into other issues as well. So actually, young ethnic minority women are much more likely to say they feel valued by the country. They're much more likely to say they feel positively about improving their life chances. About things like being in a better position than their parents, about earning a decent amount, getting a house one day. All of these issues, they feel like they're much more positive and have more of a stake potentially in society, or feel that they do, than their white peers.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Because a lot of the undercurrent of your piece and of your research is that this generation of women don't like the country. They don't feel a sense of national pride. They don't feel like it's giving much to them, and they don't feel like they have a place in this country.
A question. What do you think about national pride? I think it's just not a good concept. Maybe I just don't understand the concept at all. I have a complicated stance on it, much like I have a complicated relationship with my own ethnic group. What is your ethnic group, if you want to share? I don't like patriotism as a showmanship either, like military parades, gold places. Is this specifically targeted at Russia? Like with gold place, especially? I can see being patriotic within your community or family as more meaningful though. Yeah. No Trump makes the White House gold and builds the ballroom. He's a crazy man. Technically, I am an American, but ethnically, I am a Puerto Rican. We didn't come to America, America came to us. Yeah. Because you mentioned Slipper before, I had this between Latino and Asian, but I didn't ask just in case. The slipper is the common joke though. Okay. I think patriotism, for now, I think we'll stop with the video. It is, 12 minutes in. We have more than a half to watch for the next part. Okay. Go, we need to plan this viewing part is better. I agree. I tried. I'm trying to improve. It's a process. I don't know what I'm doing. Like designated discussion times. Yeah. How about the last half an hour? Like, I am planning to stop it for now to have designated discussion times, but I also think that it's important to focus on different topics. Like, it's really important because you need to think about every aspect, not just the whole thing. I think after viewing video essays, I noticed that people kind of just accept the information given in the piece they're watching. But we should ask more questions in the process. Open discussion time halfway in, and at the end, I will still reserve my desire to stop it at particular points to discuss. I like the group discussion we had last time, but I understand wanting to pause at certain points too. Maybe you can have time stamps before pause every few minutes, not just suddenly. Maybe I should prepare in advance for when I'm going to pause. Like warn that a pause is coming. But yeah, I need to give people more time to think about individual statements made in the context. Anyway, do you want to come on stage to discuss? Do you want to move to the voice channel we have for it? I think we can continue later when everyone is awake. Yeah, fair. That's right. We can also continue your morning, my evening. Vision should go to sleep. I will send him a punch spell. Thank you for being with me today. I will then let you finish, close the discussion and the stream. Good night, guys.